Today's episode is dealing with what has come to light as a result of the whole Djokovic fiasco. Things changed very quickly, and when we recorded the show, it looked like the tennis star was going to play. Of course, now he is no longer in the country. However, in light of what the detention uncovered and the treatment of the detainees by Border Force, we felt it was still important to air the show as we recorded it. So please enjoy the Bad Boys and the Great Border Force Clusterfuck. The Bad Boys podcast brought to you by Manup Down Under, high-performing underwear that cups your junk like the soft hands of an angel. Visit manupdownunder.com.au. Today on the show, the Great Border Force Clusterfuck.
We chat with the creator of Manup Down Under, Jocks.
And His Holiness the Pope goes on the shit list to prove that nothing is sacred.
All that and plenty more coming up on the Bad Boys podcast.
If you want the hard-hitting journalism of Four Corners, the reliable current affairs of, well, a current affair, and the planning that goes into classy shows like The Project, then you've tuned into the wrong podcast. It's comedy, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and news stories that makes Fox News sound like an episode of The Muppets. Or maybe it's the other way around. Conversations no one wants to have, but everyone wants to hear. This is the Bad Boys Podcast. Welcome to the Bad Boys Podcast, and we have an amazing week coming up this week. We've got so much to talk about with COVID, as usual.
It has been raining from the heavens. Crazy stuff to talk about this week. It has been on tap.
I mean, like, you really don't need to have a TV show, do you? You can just sit there and watch, like, all the bullshit that's going on with this whole, well, we call it the Great Border Force Clusterfuck. I mean, it's just been ridiculous. What
a mess that has been. So, for those who are slowly catching up, I'll give you the quick 30-second rundown. Djokovic, tennis's world number one, was flying in for the Australian Open. Before he flew in, he got all of his paperwork organised. He got approvals from Tennis Australia, the Victorian government, and of course, even from Border Force themselves, saying he was good to go and enter the country. He flew over. While he was over there, on his way over, they kind of changed the rules a little bit. So when he arrived, he was detained.
Right.
So he was pulled aside, he was interviewed for 7 hours, and then he was given like 2 to 3 hours to respond, of which halfway through that time frame, they then cancelled his visa and locked him up in an immigration detention jail, effectively. They call it the Park Royal Detention Centre or something like that in Melbourne.
It's like hotel hell.
Basically, right. So,
maggots in the food and...
God. Right, they're just nuts. And this is where they keep a lot of the actual detention seekers as well. And some of these guys have been held there for years.
Yeah, 9 years.
They're not allowed out. They're not allowed to exercise. They don't get proper food. They don't get medical attention, all this sort of stuff. I'm beyond ropeable on this sort of stuff. This stuff really makes me angry.
Yeah.
So, as it turns out, both parties, it appears, kind of messed up a little bit. So it went to court. So Djokovic got his lawyers involved, got a massive team, a QC and all the rest of it together to fight it. And the judge ended up by effectively ruling in his favour, saying to Border Force, what more could this man have done?
Right.
What else could he have done to do it properly? So the judge quashed the cancellation of his visa. So he's allowed to stay. However, it doesn't stop there. The actual immigration minister can actually still cancel his visa and deport him, and is been thinking about this for a number of days now, and everybody's on the front edge of their seat because they're going, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Is he going to stay or is he going to leave? And it all comes down to it. So it appears all this stuff has come out. So it's been Djokovic Open season. So part of his reason for the medical exemption, so to speak. He doesn't actually have a medical exemption. He's not vaccinated, and fair enough, that's his choice. Good for him. But he's had COVID, and he's had COVID recently. And the thought process is if you've had COVID in the last 6 months, you don't need to get the vaccine. You wait 6 months, then you get the vaccine. And in that period, you are actually treated like a fully vaccinated person as far as the rules go. But of course, Border Force changed the rules. And why did they change the rules? Because they knew he was coming over. And last thing they want is a highly successful, highly publicised, highly influential world leader in sport who is also unvaccinated being treated like the rest of the people.
Yeah, God forbid if they treat him like the rest of us. I mean, seriously.
Right.
But this is the craziness.
I mean, really, if they actually treated him like the rest of us, why would anybody bother coming to the fucking country? Seriously.
Exactly. Now, look, it doesn't matter if you're against or for Djokovic. That's not the issue here. The issue is that we have just completely shown our card as Australia to the rest of the world, right?
Right. Right. And it's embarrassing is what it is. It's absolutely embarrassing. And look, again, I don't care whether he's a superstar or whatever. Normal, everyday people have been denied entry into the country to see dying families, for compassionate reasons and all this sort of stuff. The issue is not that an unvaccinated tennis player was trying to come into the country to play tennis. The issue is the fact that we have these border rules that are apparently in place to protect us, despite the fact those same people were saying the borders were closed, but they are letting 46,000 people come and go every month. So the borders were never actually closed at all. Remember, fully vaccinated people brought Delta into the country. Fully vaccinated people brought Omicron into the country. They are facts.
Yeah.
Why they are worried about unvaccinated people, I really can't figure that out. This is beyond me. This is about power and control. It's got nothing to do with tennis. It's got nothing to do with whether he's vaccinated or not.
Yeah, and look, it is dividing the country because, there are people that are for Djokovic. There are people that are against him.
Yeah, he just wants to come and play tennis. That's it. And look, I know some people say, why should he be allowed in to play tennis when other people can't come in for other reasons and stuff? And I completely agree with you. We should open the borders because I'm telling you right now, it ain't going to get any worse by opening the borders completely. It's already gone to shit. Exactly.
And Queensland's changed their rules now. Oh, let's just drop that hard border and we're just going to open up to everybody. Anyone can come in now. Right. It doesn't matter whether you've got, Delta, Omicron, Deltacron, Florona, whatever.
It doesn't even matter if you got bloody snifflers. I mean, seriously.
Just come to Queensland. We want you. We'll take you.
And Queensland, in their infinite wisdom, have, of course, pushed back the start date of schools because there aren't enough vaxxed teachers, because they won't allow unvaccinated teachers to teach anymore. Yet New South Wales, of course, this is the beauty of this bloody country that we live in. New South Wales are saying now, oh, hold on a second. Even if you've got it, even if you test positive, but if you're a nurse and a truck driver or some sort of essential worker, you still can go to work. You can still go to work. So they've got COVID positive nurses and doctors working in hospitals riddled with coronavirus.
Oh, I want to be in that hospital.
Now they're saying teachers are going to go to schools positive, riddled with coronavirus. Like, where does this madness stop?
You know what? You lock your COVID positive person in the car boot. That's what one mum's done.
Yeah, I saw that article. All right, so this lady had to take her son to get tested. He was showing symptoms. Apparently, he'd been to a kid's party or something like that. I think he was an 8-year-old or something like that. She arrives at the testing site to get him tested. The nurse comes to the window and says, "Right, you're here for a test." She said, "Oh, no, not me, my son." She's going, "Oh, well, where is he?" "Oh, he's in the boot."
He's in the boot because I don't want him to infect us.
Right. Like, first of all, putting him in the boot. You're not going to catch it by putting him in the boot. No, not at all. But it's like, seriously, I just don't understand some people. I mean, really, that is the most brain-dead idea. And don't get me wrong, when I was a kid, riding in the boot of the station wagon, in the early 70s and stuff like that was the highlight of my day.
Come on, I used to hide in the boot to get into the drive-in.
Oh, yeah, didn't we all do that? That's exactly right. Particularly even better if you're in the boot with a good-looking girl.
Yeah, and not a COVID positive.
Well, hey, look, really, who am I to be judgmental or choosy?
And now, Andrew, have you done one of those home COVID tests?
No, I haven't done a COVID test. I've never needed to do a COVID test. I kind of live remotely on the New South Wales South Coast, and look, we've probably got 30 cases down here now. I kind of stopped licking strangers in the street many, many years ago, so I'm not going to get it. Having said that, now I'll probably get it. But
well, I grabbed one the other day. I had to sort of do one, and so
So is that the Chinese one? So is that the little plastic one that you kind of...
Yeah. So what happened was...
So it's not the anal swab one from the Chinese?
No. You just had to, I don't know. Well, I know it was a little bit different. It said I had to wee on it. Am I going to be COVID positive or COVID negative? Turns out I'm having twins.
Fantastic. Yeah, look, hey, if you look at me anytime soon, 2 years of drinking through COVID and stuff like that, I think I'm having triplets myself. So God help us all. But look, what's with this madness? I remember quite clearly, not so long ago, like this was just last year, that little old ladies were being arrested in a Melbourne park for sitting on a park bench.
Yeah.
Like seriously, what has this world come to? It is absolutely nuts. And I've got to tell you, I've got to do a big shout out here. This is really important to me because I watched a new documentary last night released by a guy called Topher Field. He is a number one Melbourneian, and he released. How do you say that? Melbourneian, and that is the right way to say it. Smartass. He released his first feature-length documentary called Battleground Melbourne, and if you go to battlegroundmelbourne.com, you can grab the link and everything like that to be able to watch it. I watched it last night, and I've got to say, I was angry before. When I was witnessing all of the the protests going on, and they were talking about, they're anti-vax protests. They weren't. They were pro-choice protests. And the way that the police were heavy-handed. There were shots of police standing up on top of a ridgeline while other police hoarded hundreds of protesters into a very tight group, and the coppers were up on this ridgeline just wholesale pepper spraying these people. Crazy. They were using rubber bullet grenades. So they were throwing grenades into the crowd that had exploded little rubber balls.
Right.
They were also using pepper spray paintballs. They were using paintball guns and shooting pepper spray paintballs into people's faces. Now, if anybody's been hit in the face by a paintball, I've done a lot of paintballing over the years, the amount of gear you have to wear to make sure that eyes aren't taken out, that damage isn't done to the face, and the coppers are here shooting paintballs into people's faces.
Yeah, that's not cricket.
Go to battlegroundmelbourne.com, watch that documentary. It is a must-see. It is very, very well done, and it builds the argument effectively that Dan Andrews has been using the police force as his own thug squad.
So make sure you head over to battlegroundmelbourne.com. You can check out that whole movie. It looks like a fascinating movie. Can't wait to watch it myself. And I think they've got a friends-only screening available at the moment, so you can have a bit of a look at it. Now, coming up, we have an interview with the creator of Manup Down Under, Ross Pirillo. But first, Andrew, have you ever wanted to win a car?
Too damn right.
What about a seriously cool car?
Yeah.
Maybe a one-of-a-kind car?
Now you're talking.
Well, Iconic Motorhouse are here to make your motoring fantasies a reality.
Yeah, that's right. They've got regular draws, limited numbers, and access to special and unique deals from over 4,500 popular brands.
Now, I'm sorry, but they don't do Camrys, so you'll have to leave your mum's car at home. They only give away real men's cars.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a good thing. And, the cars that they've got, they're real luxury items as well.
And you know what? If you go to iconicmotorhouse.com, that's spelt Haus, the German way, choose how many tickets you want, and for a limited time, they are going to boost your entries.
Wow, they're going to boost the entries. That's going to increase the odds.
There's only 15,000 entries allowed for each draw. So you've got a pretty good chance.
Seriously, that's awesome.
IconicMotorhouse.com, turning your motoring fantasies into reality. This is the Bad Boys Podcast. Now, the last couple of weeks, we have been talking about a new sponsor that we've got on Bad Boys, which is Manup Down Under. And we thought, why not bring the guy behind, or I was going to say, the guy inside the undies, out onto the microphone. Ross Pirillo from Manup Down Under. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you, Shane?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Andrew and I are stoked about, well, firstly, you guys coming on board and sponsoring the show, but secondly, how you guys have started all of this right in the height of COVID, so to speak. You've done a pretty ballsy thing and started a new brand.
Yep. Do I start from the beginning? How much time do I have on your show?
As much time as we need, mate. Don't worry.
It started way back when I was 17. I used to sew clothes. I loved fashion. And I thought, back then I enrolled in TAFE for designing and for bricklaying as an apprentice. And at the time, my girlfriend, I hope Rosie doesn't hear this, my ex-girlfriend back in the day, her dad was a bricklayer. So I thought, well, I better stick to that kind, and then I pushed the design, away onto the side and just pursued my bricklaying trade and, builder's license and that. So I've come today and I thought, well, the best time to start a business is when the actual economy is at its worst, because where do you go from there? You can't go any worse down than up. So
Yep.
True, yeah.
I was always on building sites and wearing special underpants or underwear that sort of, sweated and rolled up. And I thought, what could I do? What could I actually bring out that, tradies, being in the industry since I was 17, which is practically my whole life. What could I bring to the market that every tradie or just general person, whether they're doing gardening or it's one fits all, that's all. It's not specific for any kind of genre, or athlete so I wanted to be a generic for everybody. So the bamboo came into effect probably 2 years ago when I was doing my research and looking for, a good pair of underpants that you can actually wear. It's beyond 8 hours, the time you're up in the morning, the time you're at work, the time you get home. So the longevity of it. So that's when Man Up was born. And we finally, are getting it out on the market. Hopefully it'll be in everybody's home in a year's time.
Now you're talking. Tell me about the whole bamboo thing, because, look, I've just planted a whole bunch of ghost bamboo around my property and stuff like that, and it's going gangbusters. But wearing that around my junk feels a little bit uncomfortable just thinking about it. But as a material, it's amazing stuff.
Yeah, no, bamboo's got a great properties behind it with wicking away the sweat, keeping, antibacterial and all the other great properties that comes with it. So compared to cotton and nylon and stuff like that, that's why I went with bamboo.
I want to go back to the comment you made, which I thought was pretty important, and that was that you decided not to go down the fashion route. You decided to become a bricklayer. And is there like a stereotype? Because my wife's brother is a fashion designer, worked for Mambo, works for like big companies. Is there a stereotype that guys shouldn't be in fashion because, it's a bit girly?
I've got to tread lightly when I answer this one. Back in the day, men were men, and like the concept. I think I was trying to impress her dad as to be like getting in the same trade. So,
yeah.
But I did always have a passion for designing. I used to go to Cabramatta and buy material, sew something up a T-shirt and wear it out that night on Saturday night. Wow, my mum used to get frustrated with me and say, you've got a whole heap in the cupboard, but you're too lazy to iron them, but you'll go and make something. But she was a dressmaker by trade, and I just learned by watching her.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And look, I reckon it's fabulous as well because, really, if you want to be comfortable doing what real men do, which for me is busting my freaking ring hole out in the garden and stuff like that each and every day just because it's my crazy obsessive hobby. Why not wear something that is actually made by a man who also does the same thing, works hard physical work like a brickie? Because, I mean, I've got to tell you, I've been through many different types of underpants over the years. And one, I'm so excited to have found yours because I don't have to adjust to myself all the time. It actually breathes properly. I get to the end of the day and I'm not feeling sort of chafed and fatigued in that area. That's the one area we want to still be kind of minty fresh, so to speak.
Exactly, minty fresh. Yeah,
It's a good way of putting it.
You know, that's what we try to achieve with it, and the response we're getting is what it's doing. Yeah, for that purpose.
One of my biggest issues is at the end of the day just having sweaty nuts. I mean, let's talk about it, right? This is something that guys get have all the time. We don't want to talk about it. Let's not go there. But it's a reality, right? I mean, is this something that really drove you to find a solution?
Definitely. Look.
Oh, hang on. So for those who are listening to the podcast, he's actually taking his pants off now.
Nice.
I'm glad you only went down to your undies. I always thought you were going to pull out your sweaty nuts for a minute.
I thought we were in for a bit of Magic Mike there.
No, they're comfortable where they are.
Awesome.
Tell me, what does the missus think about all of this?
No, she loves them. I don't know whether she loves them on me or off me sometimes.
But a bit of both.
Yeah.
And of course, for all the lady listeners, because we've got a very large cohort of ladies who listen to the show who enjoy a good laugh. There is a woman on your website, whether she's wearing them or not. I actually thought you were branching out into the LGBTQI sort of chicks with dick space. But look, that was just me. That's where my mind went.
Oh, no, it's going to go everywhere because it's a tongue-in-cheek brand too.
Yeah.
So my cheeky advertisement hasn't even started yet, so I think I might get in a bit of trouble when it does actually launch.
Bring it on,
I think people love a good bit of cheekiness in advertising, and look, that's been going on for 50, 60 odd years, cheekiness in advertising. I think people prefer it as much as people also prefer a good tongue in the cheek as well. So
bring back remember the old Ants Pants ad that used to be on with the, I knew that's exactly what he was thinking of. Sick'em Rex. Yeah.
Sick'em Rex.
Oh, don't worry, I've already got something like that. Yeah. I've been working on and I asked someone, how many complaints do you have to get before they take down your content? And she said, I think it's 100. Okay, I'll get 99.5.
Well, that's 100 new customers anyway.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Ross, thanks for joining us on the show today. And where can you go to pick up a pair of your Manup Down Under underwear?
On the website is manupdownunder.com.au.
Awesome. Have you got a social media Facebook page as well?
Yes, we do. We have Instagram, manupdownunder.com.au, and Facebook page too.
Yeah, awesome. So we want to see your pics of tag yourself wearing the Man Up Down Under undies and tag the Instagram.
I am. They test modeled me in a few of the photos.
Oh, good.
On the Instagram page.
Hey, look, if you ever need a couple of sort of slightly balding, overweight, middle-aged sort of
models,
knockouts like us two fellas, don't call us.
Oh, okay.
Ross is the same. He's balding now too.
That's what I'd like people to do too. Like to actually, the public is, take a photo of them, showing that they're happy with them and putting it up.
Right. Yeah. Maybe we can start a Man Up Down Under challenge. Standing in Bunnings, maybe wearing the jocks.
Ordinary blokes. Forget the models. Section. Ordinary blokes. Just get your undies out and take a photo. That's it.
Don't forget the tool belt.
All right, Ross, thanks for joining us on the show today. And, make sure you head over to manupdownunder.com.au to check out the undies. Buy a pair, buy a whole wardrobe of them.
A week's supply.
Thanks for that, guys.
See ya. See ya, Ross.
Like we say, man up, down under, underpants that cup your hands. Oh, fuck me.
Now he's going to get
all over the shop.
So glad we ended this show.
Like we say, man up, down under, underpants, cups your junk like the soft hands of an angel. Bad, bad
This is the Bad Boys Podcast.
Welcome back to the Bad Boys. Hey, mate, I got to talk to you about something that I actually wish doesn't happen to me, but or us, but maybe it would be kind of cool if it did. And it kind of has happened to me in the past, but in a slightly different way. There is a new thing going on in the world of podcasts. So there was a article that I noticed. Journalist and podcast host Tim Pool had his show interrupted by police officers that were actually raiding his house because someone filed a false report claiming 2 people had been shot in the studio and that there was a guy still with a gun in there. There's this thing called swatting. Have you ever heard of that?
Okay, so he was doing a live podcast, right?
Right, correct.
Yeah.
That's right.
And apparently there was a report that that there was this shootout. So the police came in, they just walked in and asked him to explain what mid-show, right? The guy's in the middle of his show, the cops come in, what's going on? We've heard that there was a shootout, and there's a report that it could have possibly have been like a rogue or a competition podcaster maybe.
Yeah, look, quite possibly. Honestly, if it was a competition podcast, they've done this guy a massive favour because he's gotten worldwide coverage for what's happened. So swatting is what it's called. It's an illegal practice of making a false police report so the victim gets raided by heavily armed security forces. Now, in this particular case, a SWAT team didn't bust in the door and, start smashing up the place and running around with their guns. The coppers actually sent a police car with a couple of officers through ahead of them while the guys were getting organised, apparently. Really? And the coppers came and banged on the door and came in and basically cornered him and said, what the hell's going on? But yes, you're right. All in a live show here. I mean, the coppers very quickly figured out that it was a dud call. But this actually takes me back to when I was raided by the SWAT. You remember that story?
Oh, yes, I remember that.
So I was raided. I had a house in Hall in Canberra, up behind the old primary school there, which is now closed. And I remember at the time, one particular morning, or actually even the week before, I'd noticed a lot of undercover cop cars driving around. They're pretty easy to spot in Australia. Anyway, not all that undercover at all. But I noticed, very quiet little old sleepy village. So I noticed these cop cars. Anyway, that particular morning, I'd noticed one of them sitting across the road from our place in the car park of the primary school across the road, thinking, oh, that's a little bit odd. Oh, maybe there's something going on at the school. Didn't think much more of it. I then got ready for work, kissed my wife at the time, goodbye, said goodbye to my 2 little sons, which one was still in nappies and the other one was just staggering around. Anyway, Jamie, my eldest at the time, would been all of about 3, went to the window to wave me goodbye. And the copper who was sitting in the car saw that. So I left the house, drove away. And the copper then came and knocked at the door, answered by my wife at the time in her pajamas, one child on the hip, the other one at the thing. He said, look, I just noticed there were kids in the store in the house. I thought I'd let you know this is what's going on. And he presented her with 3 warrants. There was a warrant for the house, for the shed up the back, all that sort of stuff. Now, the backstory to all of this was we had a guy, a young builder, lovely fella, renting a massive 13-metre by 6-metre shed that we had up the back of the property. Right. And he had his own driveway access and all that sort of stuff. He put his building equipment in because he lived remotely, and he'd drive in, grab his building equipment for the day and go to work and then come back, drop it off and blah, blah, blah. Great fellow. We got to know him over a period of 6 months. Some asshat, and I know who it was, some dodgy asshat criminal wannabe dick who had actually been caught up in a murder case after he punched some guy outside of a nightclub in Canberra and killed him. He had basically, to try and save his own skin, started ratting on anybody and everyone. And he actually told the police that the builder fella who was renting my thing had a meth lab in the shed. Like a full-on crazy meth lab, and this is a 13 by 6 metre shed. Like, this thing can park like 8 cars in it. It ain't no small setup. And I knew he didn't have a meth lab in there because, one, I had access to the shed because I kept an eye on it when he wasn't around.
And it wasn't in the shed anyway. It was in your basement.
Yeah, the meth lab. Yeah, right. So anyway, this cop did the right thing, and good on him for that. The coppers then caught up with the guy who was renting the shed. They then brought him around, and there were 3 or 4, the Australian equivalent of the big black Holden Suburbans with fully armed, vested submachine guns, the whole lot. My wife's standing right there. The roller doors of the shed go up, and sure enough, there's nothing but plastering stuff in there and stuff. The coppers were gobsmacked. They were so embarrassed. It was an absolute clusterfuck from beginning to end.
My God. Well, I'm just thinking maybe for our podcast, maybe you can I don't know, put in an anonymous call or something like that. Just get the coppers around.
I can send someone else around. Maybe I'll send a SWAT team of proctologists around for a good cavity search for you, mate.
Do that live on air, eh?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they couldn't actually raid our podcast because you're in Tasmania. I'm on the New South Wales South Coast.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff that get up to in Tasmania. Let me tell you.
Yeah, particularly with your sisters and stuff.
Hey, now I've got to ask a question because we haven't done a shit list today, right?
Yeah.
But who do you want to put on the shit list today? Because I've got someone.
Look,
I got someone all ready to go.
This guy has been on my shit list for a very, very long time, mostly because he's the head of an organisation that sexually abused children for decades. And yes, I am talking about the Pope.
Yes.
But today he's particularly on the shit list because, get this, he has come out and said very, very publicly, as an official spokesperson at the head of the church, that people who have pets are selfish and they shouldn't have pets and they should have more children. Right. So basically he's saying people that have no children or people that have one child are selfish because they choose to then have pets after that and blah, 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 and not have more children.
Looking after animals, caring for their well-being. It's just selfish, I tell you. So how many kids has Pope Francis got?
Oh, look, who knows? Who knows?
Now, how many legitimate kids?
How many has he had? He's probably got a few hundred still stashed away underneath the Vatican there. And but yes, of course, this is a guy who hasn't had children himself. I mean, he's saying other people are selfish because they're not having children, but he hasn't bothered to go there himself. But look, he's probably got, I don't know, a few dozen illegitimate children spread throughout the world.
Yeah, you know what? I really think he's out of touch, to be honest, because
you think?
Let's face it, right? You know, he says, an emotional relationship with animals is easier, more programmable. An animal is not free while having a child is something complex. Like, the guy is completely out of touch with reality.
Right. Do you know why people have a puppy dog rather than another child?
Because they can't look after kids.
For starters, puppy dogs usually last 3 to 15 years. They don't cost anywhere near as much. And ultimately speaking, you don't have to deal with the terrible twos or the terrible teens. The
guy is completely out of touch with reality. And I think that he has actually put the Catholic Church back about, 50 years with this statement.
Who listens to this turkey in a white frock anyway, the Pope? Who actually listens to it these
days? Not many people these days. Look, it's made him look like he is ancient and shouldn't be around anymore. And sorry, but he is definitely going on the shit list in this week's show.
Absolutely. Definitely on the shit list. Oh, look, I lost faith in I am Catholic by birth, I suppose you could say. You know, I was raised in a Catholic family. I gave up on the Catholic Church when then they took absolutely no responsibility for the sexual abuse and institutionalized abuse of children for decades all over the world. Not only he goes on the shit list, I think he goes at the top of the turkey list as well.
Top of the turkey list. Hey, now next on Friday we've got a massive show because you remember I mentioned to you that I chatted with one of the guys from one of the actors from James Bond.
That's right. Now, yes. We haven't told anybody who it is
yet. Haven't told anyone who it is. We're not going to tell anyone.
This is the latest James Bond movie.
This is the latest No Time to Die.
But this guy's he's no like third-rate actor or anything like that. He's no extra. Like he's illegitimate main actor and character.
He's a central character to the show. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not James Bond, I will tell you that. But would have been nice to get Daniel Craig. But anyway, never mind. But yeah, look, next week, Friday, we've got an exclusive interview with one of the guys from No Time to Die. Can't wait to share that with you guys. And coming up next week, big news, massive news for Australia Day. We've got two of Australia's, I guess, most well-revered bogans on the show.
The biggest bogans in Australia, self-confessed, actually, bogan kings of Australia, Paulie Fennick and Angry Anderson are coming on the show for a very bogan Australia Day.
Yeah, can't wait for that. Can't wait for that. These guys have been in housos and pizza together, and amazing that they're both here.
Of course, we interviewed Paulie Fennick a year or so ago, and we recently interviewed Angry Anderson. It was only when we spoke to Angry that he mentioned that him and Paulie are good mates.
Yeah, that's it. So we're just going to have
So we said we had to get him on the show, and they probably rather foolishly agreed. So that's awesome.
Crazy. That's coming up. Make sure you check out our social media, which is Official Bad Boys Podcast on both Facebook and Instagram.
And, of course, badboysfm.com for catching some of those sultry tunes.
Thanks, guys. Press plus or follow to hear more great episodes from the Bad Boys. Or check us out on our social media at Official Bad Boys Podcast on both Facebook and Instagram.